If you,
That's not how that works.
if I add depot limited, unlimited at the end of it, it doesn't make it more important.
Camo and hooks and guns and poles and line and jackets and shirts and hats.
Depot limited international
LLC.
Well, obviously it'd have to be an LLC so you can pay your taxes.
Yeah, right.
You can't be a sole proprietor. I can't repeat the whole name, but
Right, sure.
we have to come up with a cool acronym for that.
Business cards too.
And business cards with the whole acronym.
But a business card that like folds
So you can see the whole
so
name?
you can see the whole name. Like it's in regular like font size, like a business card font.
Nice.
And then you unfold it to read the whole thing all the way across.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, I think and that makes perfect sense for all those times when you say I do a podcast and they're like, oh, do you have a card?
Yeah. In fact.
As a matter of fact, I do.
I sure do.
Let me unfurl this one for you. All right, so you are fresh back from Wyoming.
Yeah, did we do the intro part?
I don't know. That is, yeah, that's it. You were gone for so long.
How will people even know what they're listening to?
Yeah, they're like after they click on the thing that says Camo and Hooks podcast, how are they going to know that this is the Camo and Hooks podcast? This is Mike.
And this is Luke.
There we go. How are they going to know? So yeah, segued there. Yeah. You were gone for so long that I forgot how to do podcast intros.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've completely forgotten it. You can hear in the background, I have a kid now. You've been so long. There's a new toddler in the house. I don't even know how long ago that happened. Like, you've been out in the wilds in Wyoming hunting antelope.
Out west.
Out west.
Some would say.
And you've left me here on my own. trying to rub two sticks together to make a podcast work, trying to keep this ship afloat. I don't have any other metaphor, so we can just that's all I got.
That's pretty good.
Keeping the wheels on this stick that I'm rubbing together to keep a fire and keep the caravan going. That's what I'm doing here.
Wow.
So tell me about your thing. Whatever that is.
Antelope hunting.
In
dude. Wyoming.
Dude, I've said it every time you bring it up on this podcast. Mad jealous that you get to go out west.
Yeah.
And the pictures, I'm guessing, did not do it justice.
Not at all. It was crazy. So I flew into Denver to meet up with Tyson.
Not Mike Tyson.
Not Mike Tyson, no. It's my buddy that I work with. He's a chef and a butcher. And he grew up in Montana hunting and fishing. He lived in Alaska for a little while.
Yeah.
So he works. He has a side business where he butchers meat and sells it to restaurants. And he's got a website, cocraftbutchers.com.
Nice.
And they deal exclusively with a Wagyu beef ranch in Wyoming. And this ranch. We asked the guy, hey, can we hunt antelope out there? And he said, yeah, sure.
Leah says, what you doing in dining room?
Talking about antelope.
Talking about Wagyu, of course.
Yeah, Wagyu beef. So that was pretty cool. So we actually ate Wagyu beef the whole time we were there.
Oh, my God. That alone makes me dislike you even more for this.
So yeah, if you were following the Instagram story over the weekend, it was, what do you eat at hunting camp?
Oh,
we have Wagyu ribeyes and tri-tip and, no big deal.
This is what happens when you get two pro chefs that go out on a hunt. And like, what do you want to eat? Like, when most people have that, it's like, I don't know, what bag of noodles do you have on you?
Yeah.
Like, maybe we could scramble an egg if we're feeling fancy.
I made 17 peanut butter sandwiches for this weekend.
That's my move.
Yeah, we had Wagyu ribeyes with fingerling potatoes and broccolini, and then we had we had tri-tip with heirloom beans and stuff. It was delicious.
So if you're eating like that though, what's the point of even hunting? Like, what are you trying to get that's gonna improve that? Like, oh, the camp meat was okay, but listen to what we packed.
Yeah, it was delicious. So there was that. That's what we kept talking about. Like, even if we don't get an antelope, hey, we're gonna have a lot of fun and we're gonna eat well.
Yeah. So how did you?
So we did.
Let's talk real quick about how did you prep this stuff? Like, what are you cooking on? Was it a campfire, grill?
So we stayed in a KOA campground.
Okay, I gotcha.
We did get a cabin though because setting up a tent in 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts would not have been fun.
Would have been hilarious.
It would have been hilarious, but not fun. So we stayed in one of their little cabins. But we had charcoal grill. So we were doing everything in either right over the fire or in cast irons on the charcoal grill. So
perfect.
It was fantastic.
That's how it was intended.
Lighting those fires in the wind gust was also a lot of fun.
Yeah, like stand over here, stand on this side, stand on this side.
Yeah, every meal we made took like 3 hours.
Just
trying to get the fire started, trying to keep the fire going, and also with the wind blowing like that, you're relying on that heat going up from the grill,
right? Instead of
going laterally,
horizontal. Yeah, that's not exactly. And the thing about the wind out there is there's nothing to stop it.
Correct.
It's just picking up steam as it blows across the plains.
Yeah, we were in the southeastern part of the state, which is the plains,
if you will.
The range. Yeah. Where the deer and the antelope play.
They did, I assume.
They did, yeah. So that's what we did, just cast iron and right over the fire for everything. Even breakfast on Sunday, we had bought like some hash browns and just cooked those in the cast iron.
Dude.
He had just made some fresh andouille sausage.
Nice.
So we had that, onions, eggs, tomatoes, cheese. It was fantastic. It was like a gourmet meal, a gourmet hash.
It's like you didn't even actually go hunting.
We
didn't even go hunting, did you?
We actually cooked that out on the public land.
Oh, nice.
That we were at. So we're like sitting on top of a hill with these amazing views, eating a delicious breakfast. That was great.
It's not terrible.
It was not terrible. Not a bad way to spend a weekend.
I ever told you my andouille sausage in Europe story?
Oh no.
Maybe this was like 3 or 4 years ago. For those wondering, andouille sausage in the U.S. and North America is different than what it is in France. In North America, I'm a little less familiar, but it's basically like a spiced sausage. Mm-hmm. Like it's a certain combination of like it's a little bit of heat to it. Like,
heavy garlic, a little cayenne, paprika.
And in France, it's made up of guts. It's chopped up and ground up intestines and guts and colon that are put inside a casing. Mm-hmm. That are put inside basically that exact same thing. Put inside an organ casing. And when you cook them, it smells just like that. Yeah. It smells just like where the poo on a pig comes from. And I bought a pack of andouille sausage in Angers, France at a grocery store thinking like, that'll be delicious. I'm going to make some pasta. Like I was just going to do pasta with some fresh veggies and, roast some tomatoes and then throw the andouille sausage in. And I made everything else and I started grilling the sausage like, that smells kind of funny. It'll probably just cook out though. Maybe it's just like a different thing. And it didn't. The whole house that we were staying in ended up smelling like a big giant fart the whole time. And nobody touched it. Nobody ate it.
Well, that's funny because the joke about sausage when you're making fresh sausage, usually you use a lot of pork butt. Mm-hmm. In the sausage, you always joke that it's butts and guts because you're using intestine as the casing. So butts and guts is usually the joke, but you had guts and guts.
Guts and guts that smelled like butts. Yeah, is what I had right there.
Nice. Well done.
Episode title.
Guts and guts that smelled
every
like
time
butts.
I know I can find it. I just have to go back through and editing and find that. But so that's just as an aside. That's my a
little bit different
for those who are inclined towards the culinary or want to pretend to. Remember that if you're cooking in France, andouille sausage means something different, and it will make everything smell like a fart. So anyway, continue.
So the food was great. That was nice. So Friday we roll in, and actually Tyson was delivering some cuts of meat to the ranch. Okay. So we went in the afternoon. This is like 4 p.m. As we're driving in, he's got marked on his phone where the section of the ranch that the rancher's going to let us hunt is, and it's right off the interstate. So I'm like a kid pulling up to Disney World, right, with my face just plastered to the window like one of those Garfield suction cup things. Looking out the window, is there antelope? Is there antelope? Sure enough, we pull through this next to this field, and there's antelope right out there, just a whole herd of them. So we're like, awesome, cool. So we can't just really like stop on the side of the highway and get out with a gun and go shoot one.
That's frowned on.
Yeah, I mean, even though it is Wyoming, still feel like there might have been some phone calls made. Yeah. So we wheel around into the ranch, we drop off the stuff, and we go pull into that field. And we're driving in, and we can kind of see them. I pull out the binoculars. the knocks, the binos, binocs, whatever you want to call them. And we can see them. We're pulling up. We get to about 500 yards, and they all stand up and look right at us. So that was pretty cool because we stopped the truck, and I'm looking at them in the binoculars, and I'm staring like face to face from 500 yards.
Okay, but
with one of these pronghorn antelopes.
So here's my question to interject there, though.
Yeah.
What are your considerations for camo or concealment? Like they can see you and they pop up, they see you that far away. Like, are you camouflaged? Are you worried about concealment, or is it okay that they see that? Like that's what pops into my mind because it's just such a different paradigm for hunting from what I'm used to.
So yeah, at this point we weren't, because we were just planning to make a delivery.
Okay, so you're in
and we were going to go set up at the camp and all that kind, and planning to hunt Saturday.
I
so we weren't planning to hunt at all on Friday.
Okay.
So I did throw on my Hunter Orange, but we were in the truck when we saw these guys.
I got you. Okay.
So they're used to seeing trucks driving around the ranch.
Sure.
So it doesn't always mean death. But sometimes maybe. So they got up and they looked at us and we looked at them, and we were gonna try to turn a little bit so that I could get out of the truck, get the gun, and get around the side, because you can't shoot from inside the vehicle.
Yeah, it seems to be a law pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. But we thought if they see the door open and see me get out, that'll freak them out.
Yeah. So
we thought we'd try to turn the truck so I could do that kind of with the truck blocking me from them seeing me. And then I kind of come around the side.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
And boom. We stopped for a minute. We see them. As we started to kind of back up and turn, they were gone.
Boom.
Just
didn't fit their idea of a good time. So
exactly.
Then, we're out.
So they got out of there. So we set up camp, had dinner, got up Saturday, got out there. So we thought, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit this field again. But he dropped me at the interstate, and I went over the fence, and I was going to come up on the east side. He was going to come in with the truck from the west side. So if he did spook them, they'd come at me. Well, I get over the hill where I'd be able to see them, and the field is just empty. And he texts me, I was driving into the ranch, and there's a whole herd over here.
Huh.
So it turns out he said you would have had like a 150-yard shot on antelope.
So did he have a tag?
No.
Okay, so
we both put in, and I was the only one that drew a tag.
I got you, okay.
So he came and got me out of the field. We went back over to the public land because the ranch was actually butted up against another 700 acres of public land that also fell into our section.
Okay.
So we had 1,400 acres basically to hunt, and unique access to this public land. So that was pretty neat.
Is that public land kind of just, is it walled off? Is it pinned in by private?
Not completely. There is an access road. And we did see some other hunters on there. We don't know if they were coming in from one of the other private lands that connects, or if they were on public land, or if they came in through that public access. But there is other access. But that's a thing that's going on right now a lot in the conversation about public land.
The landlocked.
Is that a lot of it's locked by private land, so it essentially becomes private to whomever's
private
land connects access to it. Yeah. That was interesting. But we got over there, and they were gone by the time we got back over there. So we kind of did some of that stuff where he would drop me at one spot, and he would make a big swooping loop. So if there was anything to spook, they'd kind of spook my direction.
So it's kind of just, you're trying to do a drive hunt just with a truck.
Yeah.
He's trying to drive him toward the shooter, basically.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, like a push hunt or something. I've heard where, guys will do that, where you drop one guy at one end, then 3 or 4 guys will kind of go in a line through the woods, hoping to push something toward the one guy at the other end.
Right, and he gets bonus points if he shoots his buddies in the leg.
Yeah, exactly.
Along with an animal.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Super dangerous. I'm less likely to shoot a car. Less likely, not
zero.
Not zero.
Not less. A zero chance.
So we did that a couple times, and we did spot some. They kind of ran over the hill, and I had read a lot of articles that, hey, don't get discouraged if you spook the antelope over the hill. They're going to run over the hill, and they're going to stop. I was like, all right, cool. So we spooked some over the hill. So I made my way up the hill, and my my Apple Watch tracking was off the charts for me personally this past weekend. I think on Saturday it said I climbed 55 flights of stairs, which was pretty fantastic.
I don't remember there being any stairs.
There were no stairs. Yeah. It was all rocky hills. Nice. So I run up this hill trying to get to them. By the time I get over the hill, it's flat on top, and they're gone. They're completely gone. So we kind of hit other spots on that public land a couple more times. We went back over to the hayfield in the ranch, and we kind of drive around the hayfield and realize that it goes back farther than we thought, which was cool. But as we're coming back out, because we hadn't seen anything, sure enough, from seemingly out of nowhere, this herd, had to be 40, 50 antelope, are cutting across in front of us from our left to our right. And we know that the way the fences are shaped, they're going to have to make a big swooping right turn.
Sure.
Because they don't jump fences. Interestingly enough, in Wyoming, the state maintains any fence line that you have lining the interstate because they don't want herds of antelope running across the interstate.
The highway, yeah.
So what they do is instead of barbed wire fences, there's 2 strips of barbed wire on top, but the bottom is like that 4-inch metal netting, basically, because they go
the grid wire
under. Grid wire. They go under the fences. They don't go over the fences.
Okay.
So the state puts that fencing down to the ground so they can't go under. So we know they're not going to run across the highway. We know they're going to cut right. And when they're moving real fast, they're not going to slow down to duck under the fence. They're just going to turn on the fence line and run the fence line.
Okay.
So we make a hard right, and he guns it. And we're in this Volvo XC90, which was wildly more rugged than I expected it to be, by the way.
Would not have been my expectation it could handle it.
Yeah, the thing was a beast. So he guns it, and we're cutting across a hayfield with all kinds of gullies and ruts, and I guess badgers get into prairie dog holes and turn them into just giant gaping holes. So we're cutting across this field, bouncing up and down. My head hits the roof at some point.
Nice.
And we see them make the big turn like we thought. So they're essentially now coming toward the car, and we're gonna head them off. So he stops probably 20 yards to the fence. I jump out. I got the gun. They split around the truck like a school of fish might split around a boat.
Like how far away are we talking when they do this? So
they probably get 75 yards from the truck, and the herd splits. Half of them run in between that gap that is essentially 20 yards from the truck to the fence. Half of them run through that. The other half run around the back of the truck and maybe 40 yards away from the back of the truck.
Okay.
And they never slow down. They never stop. I mean, they're going 40, 50 miles an hour. Yeah. So I'm seeing these things go at their top speed, and they are cooking.
Yeah.
So
you can feel it at that.
I mean,
distance.
My heart is through the roof. It was nuts. And I drop down against the truck to get steady, and I pull the scope up, and I got the gun up. I'm looking through the scope, and all I just see is
just a blur.
They're just blurring. So I'm not skilled enough to take a shot at a moving animal, let alone one that's going 40 miles an hour.
Nope.
B, I only have an antlerless tag. So if I was to just launch one off into this group and hit an antlered one or hit several animals.
That's just bad hunting. Yeah.
It's bad hunting. It's unethical. It
could be illegal.
Illegal, right? Yeah. If I do catch one of those with antlers, my $45 antlerless tag becomes a $5,000 fine with no antler meat. You know? So it was just not responsible to take a shot.
Absolutely not.
There was no way I was going to do it. And then they just met right back up when they got, maybe 100 yards away from the truck.
Just running full clip.
And just kept going.
And saying to each other, you see those assholes back there?
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy. And I told Tyson, I was like, obviously I want to shoot an antelope this weekend, but that was worth the trip.
That was rad right there.
I mean, it was like I was in a goddamn National Geographic video or something.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, just like that proximity to wildlife. We talked about that before. Is like when it's a species you're not familiar with and it's a new thing, you get to have proximity to them and see them being an animal. It's like that's cool no matter what.
And I mean, I've seen antelope like at a zoo.
Yeah, sure.
And you always hear about how fast they are, and you see it on TV or you watch the YouTube videos. But to be there while they're doing it, it was so cool.
Yeah, that's different ball game, and it's an appreciation thing. Like you can honestly start to see when you get out next to wildlife like that. You can see that. I can see why people just come out here and take pictures. Mm-hmm. Like I get it. Like I understand. Like if hunting's not for them, I can understand why there's photo tourism. Like there's wildlife photographers who just live for this. Because like you don't get that in your everyday human life. And see, like a species that's like just so specifically designed and adapted to do something like that.
Yeah.
Move like that. It's like, I don't deal with speeds like that unless I'm in a car.
Right, exactly.
My brain isn't ready for that. Like, that's why even like, probably you're not the first hunter in the history of the world to see him running full clip and go, oh, I can't do anything about that.
Yep. No, there's nothing I can do.
I'm not built for that.
Nothing I can do.
I'll leave it to something with 4 legs and claws and fangs to deal with that. I can't do that.
Well, there's nothing there that can.
That's true, yeah.
They're, I think, what was Tyson? He said they're what's considered a super prey, in that they have no natural predator that can get them.
Yeah, they've won.
Yeah. Coyote can't run. I mean, a cheetah could, but there's no cheetahs in Wyoming running on the plains.
And at most, you imagine a coyote can pick off a baby or can pick off
unless it's injured.
Yeah,
they just can't. There's nothing. We are their only predator, which is fascinating. Really fascinating.
So no pressure.
Yeah, exactly. So we drove back over to the public land. We kind of found a high ridge and we sat on that for a while and tried to spot some. And light was going down, and I saw 2 going across another ridge. They were 1,000 yards away, and I just watched them walk across. I laid down. I got that gun out. I got him in the scope, but it was 1,000-yard shot. I was like, I wanted to so bad pull the trigger, and Tyson was like, don't.
Yeah.
He's like, and we read later, he was letting me use his Remington 300 Ultra Mag. Mm-hmm. This gun that's probably like a $2,000 gun.
Yeah.
Was pimped out with like another $2,000 in modifications. It had a pistol grip.
I saw you had the hair trigger on there. That video of you shooting him, it's like, that is...
Oh, dude.
Whew.
It's not hard to let it surprise you with a hair trigger.
Yeah.
Which is what you're supposed to do, The barrel had been rifled out. It had a muzzle brake on it, and it had like a $2,500 loopholed 14-power scope.
Good Lord.
So we looked it up after that. We were talking about it at dinner and drinking beers, and I was like, I wonder what the drop is at 1,000 yards. At 1,000 yards, the drop is like 20 feet. So
you would have accounted for that properly.
Right. Yeah. He was saying that his uncle hunts Montana, and they hunt elk, and they hunt all these ridges that they've been hunting for years in public land, so they know the distances on these ridges. He said, so, if we're standing here and we're looking there, I'll say aim 2 elk high or 1 elk high, which is pretty interesting. And what's really cool is to think that he's properly executed those shots at that distance.
Yeah.
Right? To be aiming on an elk, if you go 1 elk high, you're talking 8 or 10 feet. 2 elk high, you're talking 16, 20 feet. And you're aiming at the size of a dinner plate. So that's really interesting. But I was thinking about that, and I was like, okay, so I would have had to aim like 10 antelope high. But that day on Saturday, I got to draw down 3 times, and none of those 3 times did I have any chance at a shot. But I got the experience of looking at these animals through a scope with a gun in my hands. So that was super cool, which made me super pumped about Sunday. I was like, all right, now we kind of have an idea of what they do. They're not habitual animals.
Right.
They're totally random. They will be running at a full clip and just cut left for no reason. There's no fence, no hole, no ridge, no water, nothing. They'll just cut left. And they'll run like that for a mile, and then they'll just turn around and do a 180 for no damn reason.
Right.
It's wild. Wild.
There you go.
There's mine. I got mine. So Sunday we get out there super early, hoping we'll see him on the road like he did the day before. Nothing. We checked the hayfield, empty. Long story short, on Sunday we saw one antelope, and he was at 750 yards running full tilt, just absolutely pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
And that was the only one we saw all day.
Where are you headed, buddy?
Yeah. So that was kind of a bummer. Obviously, antelope was the goal of the trip. But when we realized, hey, it's probably not going to happen, we had found this big piece of foam stuck in the barbed wire fence. So we drew a target on it and drove out to 350 yards. And I took a shot, and I hit the target.
Hey, there you go.
And then later, we're like, well, still no antelope? All right, let's do 500. So I had seen what the drop was like at that 350, so I went a little higher. And I actually hit our bullseye at 500 yards.
Wow.
It was 100% the scope.
And the gun.
And having already taken a 350-yard shot to know what I needed to do.
That's fun, though. That's never not fun.
It was pretty cool, yeah. I mean, I aimed a foot above the bullseye at 500 yards, which is interesting that the drop is a foot at 500 yards. It's 20 feet at 1,000 yards.
Yeah, gravity's a bitch.
Yeah, it is. That's 9.83 meters per second squared, so it gets harder.
It picks up a little bit, as you could mathematically say. Yeah. So, but I mean, it's the classic thing. Like you, obviously, the goal is to get the animal. The goal is to get the antelope.
Sure.
But if you just focus on that, there's so much lost along the way. And I mean, we've been sitting here talking for 15 minutes about the experience of doing it. So clearly. Yeah. And
I also thought it was interesting that I kind of answered some questions we had in our last few podcasts. We talked about, is Central Texas whitetail deer hunting boring?
Yeah.
Because you're sitting in a box and waiting. And I tell you this, based on my experience this weekend, I can tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity to sit in a box or sit in a blind
to ambush
and let them come to me.
Yeah.
Because there is no ambushing antelope.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Not on the plains like that. No
chance. Way. They can see a mile. They can see a mile and they can run 50 miles an hour.
Right.
Those are their defenses, right?
Their defense is to be gone before you get there.
Exactly. Yeah. Before you have a chance. Uh-huh. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to hunt the way I do. Not to mention, and again, I'll mention we get 5 deer tags with our standard Texas state license, and I had to put into a lottery to get one antler for the same price as my hunting license in Texas. That gives me 5 deer, 3 turkeys, and a redfish over 28 inches.
Right.
I had to put in a lottery for one antlerless tag
for an animal that's roughly the size of a whitetail, meat wise.
A small one.
Yeah.
Basically. If you get a mature doe, 30 to 40 pounds of meat.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good way, honestly, to kind of put a bow on it, too, in the idea that...
Oh, forget about hunting them with a bow. Which people do. And for those guys, I've seen those videos. Hey, I have so much more respect. I had respect before because I understood how difficult it was.
Yeah.
But having tried it now myself with a gun, even thinking about doing that with a bow.
Getting under 80 yards.
Oh, my God.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But, to kind of put the thing in perspective, that's really interesting what you're saying about, kind of the value that you're getting. And that's sort of a cynical economic way to look at it, I know, but you almost have to emphasize the experience because even if you get the antelope, you're still not getting a good value for your tag compared to what you're getting at home.
Yeah, I had to fly to Denver, drive to Wyoming. We had to camp for 3 nights. We had to buy all the food while we were there. And then had I been successful, I would have had to ship all that meat back. So there's additional costs.
Whether you win or lose, so to speak, it really is about that experience you had. I think that's a smart way to think about it that I don't think that I was before. To think about it that way is being at home is, it can be boring or whatever, whatever things I'm fantasizing about comparing it to. But even if you'd have gotten the antelope, you're still not getting the value per pound of meat that you're getting when you're here at home. And if that's the final goal, that's good. But so you better damn well enjoy it either way.
You have to look at your return on investment as not just meat.
Yeah. You can't go out there and be rolling your eyes about having to climb hills.
Which I think is the same even if we're talking about Central Texas whitetail deer hunting.
Yeah.
Your return on investment cannot be predicated solely on how much meat you get.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you're not guaranteed anything.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're paying to go on a high-fenced managed ranch,
right?
Then you're guaranteed.
You're paying a lot, though.
But then your return on investment goes way up.
Yeah.
So you've got to enjoy the experience. You've got to like just being out there. You've got to. And it was funny. I had joked with Tyson. I think I joked with you a little bit too. That a small part of me was disappointed that the weather was going to be nice while we were there.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Because the high was in the 60s. On the last day there, I was just down to a single layer. I didn't wear base layer the whole time I was there. I mean, I'd had a wind shell on because the wind was crazy. But I had joked a little bit that I was a little disappointed that I wasn't going to suffer, and get that snowy, cold,
the Western
hunting experience.
Yeah.
But I did suffer because I did a lot of walking and a lot of climbing. Well, and it was exhausting.
I think that's a good lesson. I think that's a good instructive thing is like that's, again, comparing what we're used to, as a blind or a stand hunter here in Central Texas, an ambush hunter, I mean, you don't have to be in the greatest shape. Depending on where your stand is set up, you can be pretty lazy about it. But to hunt out west, you got to be able to move a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm not in the greatest of shape, but I was winded for most of the weekend.
I think anybody that's not used to that would be.
Yeah, not to mention we were at 8,000 feet.
I was about to say thinner air. You're at thinner air.
He goes, "What are you guys at in Austin?" I said, 432 feet.
Yeah, basically like at the beach. More or less is what we're at.
Yeah, more or less at the beach, on the fourth story, or something like that.
Compared to here, I've got an oxygen mask. I've got a CPAP on in Texas compared to here.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And then on Saturday we had wind gust up to 60 miles an hour. There was like getting punched. There was a sign on the interstate that said, high-profile light-duty vehicles not permitted. So you cannot drive your empty U-Haul down this interstate.
Because we don't want to come dig you off the side of the road and turn you over and scrape you off the inside of your...
But yeah, it was gorgeous, man. The sunrise and the sunset somehow is 360 degrees.
That's insane. There's just nothing to stop the light, I guess.
Exactly. And there's, if there was some clouds, forget about it. There were colors of orange and pink that I've never seen.
I saw some of the pictures, man. And if you haven't been to the Camo and Hooks Instagram, check that out because they were. I mean, you see a lot of breathtaking pictures on Instagram. I get it, but to think about it in the experience of being there to hunt, and like if you obviously follow this podcast, you're somebody that loves to hunt. And either that's going to bring back some memories for you or that's going to make you jealous and want to to go see that stuff because when I see that just for some reason that just like awakens something, seeing that, knowing that, and it was knowing that you're there, knowing that like I've, that connection's there, like Luke is there right now, like he's experiencing that, like it stirs something up. It makes I want to be somewhere I'm not. Like I want to see like landscapes that I haven't seen before. I don't know. It's just, I'd like to think that a lot of people have that drive, especially anybody that listens to this. I think they do. Yeah, and I can't recommend enough. I'm basically going to spend the next 3 months researching trips for next year. Oh, same. I'm going to look at out-of-state tags combined with plane tickets to the nearest airport for those tags. Yeah, and see what I can put together for next year because. Just the whole, I mean, it's fun to go to deer camp for the weekend, right? Or even just to run out to your lease for the evening. But when it's a whole trip, I mean, I had anticipation of this from the time that my tag was drawn in July. And then I get to book my plane ticket in September. And then the week of, I'm like, I'm checking the weather. Oh, this is your Disneyland. Just like you said earlier, this is your Disneyland.
It was so cool. Just the whole experience, all the anticipation. And I had joked with Tyson. I was like, when you're fishing, every cast could be a fish. Sure. Right? That anticipation is what keeps you going out there and doing it. When I was out there, every little roll of a hill I would go over, I just knew there was going to be antelope on the other side.
Yeah, that's a cool feeling.
So it's just like, oh, they're going to be, and then they weren't. And you're like, oh, but there's another one.
Yeah, it's like the every noise you hear in the forest sort of thing.
Exactly.
That's a deer. That's a deer.
Yeah, I think I said on the Instagram this weekend, when you're hunting whitetail deer, every squirrel is a deer.
Yeah.
Well, when you're out on in the plains in Wyoming, every tumbleweed is an antelope. It will just catch the corner of your eye. You're like, oh, there's one. Oh, no, it's another damn tumbleweed.
Oh, we definitely see what we want to see out there, I'd imagine. That's
every white rock is the white butt of an antelope. And it's crazy. You're like, oh, but no, there's not like 8 of them. There's just the one.
Yeah. So what do you think lessons learned wise? What do you think if you had to pick out 1 or 2 things that you think were like the big lessons you took away from this that are going to make you better equipped for not just the next antelope hunt, but just a better hunter in general? What are the things you took away?
So number 1 that would make me a better antelope hunter would be early season.
Okay.
Because that's what we heard from a lot of the locals were in the early season, that is when you can spook them, they'll run over the hill and stop. In the late season, they're like, we keep running over these hills, and Dave got shot. So don't stop running. When we start running, don't stop running. So that was a big thing that we, and it was like, they were like, oh, you should come out earlier in the season. Oh, thanks. Yeah, you don't think I would have been out here 3 weeks earlier if I could have been? But that was the big thing I learned for that. And I think the big lesson I learned otherwise was to appreciate what you can do where you can do it. I actually have an increased appreciation for the way we hunt here based on that experience.
That's nuts to me. I would not have expected that.
Yeah, I didn't either. But I sat, they're specifically antelope hunting. They're so unpredictable. They are not habitual. They are never in the same place twice. Like I said, they will run for 10 miles and cut left for no reason. They won't be back at the same time tomorrow morning.
Right.
They're gone everywhere. So we have the opportunity to pattern animals here.
Yeah.
And not that we can always, you can't say, that 8 point's going to be here at 8:30 in the morning. But you've got the same deer coming around. You know about what time they're going to show. It's going to be a little after sunrise or a little before sunset when they come out. We saw antelope in the middle of the damn day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And, the thing to think about, too, is this occurs to me as you're talking, is if it were effective to put up feeders and lure antelope in, people would be doing it out there. But apparently it's not.
Right.
So, and that's the thing. We can beat ourselves up about feeder hunting and ambush hunting and all that kind of stuff. But if it worked on those species, they'd be doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know the legality of it. I'll say that much. It's not always legal to do everywhere, but
yeah, I think we're one of the few states that gets to hunt feeders. But but they would figure out an easier way to do it.
Sure,
certainly.
There's not. Yeah, they're like we always joke about. They're good at staying alive.
Yeah,
they can be dumb about a lot of things, but the staying alive thing, run fast till nothing hurt you.
Yeah,
they're pretty good at that thing. Well, that's cool, man. That I think that really puts a cool perspective on it, and that I don't know. Maybe I guess you'll get to see next time you go out. Next time you go out in the stand and you sit, you'll have a little extra appreciation for all the extra oxygen you can breathe.
Yeah, that I'm not going to be so annoyed by the bugs.
Yeah,
I'm still going to be freaked out by them, but I won't be annoyed.
Okay,
at being freaked out by them.
That's a complex set of emotions you're experiencing about bugs right there. I didn't realize that we might have another episode in the tank. Like, how does Luke's therapy session on bugs? We'll bring in a psychologist.
That'd be fascinating.
It would for like 3 or 4 minutes.
Sure.
And they just diagnose.
That's how most of our podcasts are. Anyway.
Yeah, first 3 or 4 minutes, killer. They're just banging these points out. They made 2 puns, and then after that, it just starts to drag for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'm glad you got to do it. Like I said, super jealous.
So much fun.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I got nothing to compare against it. I think I've been out to the stand once since then, and it was just a midday sit. Nothing happened. Yeah. So my Richland Creek here in Texas public land hunt got canceled because of flooding.
Because of flooding.
Got canceled because it rained too much. So it was good, though. It was becoming a stress point where it's like, how are we going to make this work? Like, because I had to take my kid out of school and stuff. So
totally worth it, by the way, to take him out of school.
It was going to 100% be worth that. Yeah. Yes. There's no.
But it's still a hassle.
It is
that you have to deal with.
It's a hassle. I have to be a person in society apparently once in a while. So if you don't already, make sure you subscribe to or you follow us on Instagram at Camo and Hooks. Make sure you keep your eyes on camoandhooks.com because you can find all the old episodes there. But coming soon also, we're going to be offering a pre-sale on a hat.
Yeah.
We have picked out the camo hat that we like quite a bit. We've designed a Camo and Hooks patch with our special little logo on it. It's got hooks on it.
In fact, if you check out the Instagram...
That's right.
Got a couple pictures up of it in action.
Yes, if you watch that video of Luke firing that hair trigger Remington, like you can see, that's the hat that he's wearing as he shudders in fear. His shot comes off. That's the one that's on his head. Now, it's a good-looking hat. It's sitting on the table between us right now. So we're going to open up a pre-sale on that so you can show your support of Camo and Hooks, and we designed the color scheme and everything so it will not blow your cover. If you're out hunting. Like, I feel like it would be the dumbest thing ever to do a neon green hat.
Yeah.
Like a floral pattern hat while we're pretending to be a hunting podcast. So, yeah, check that out soon. More stuff coming down the pipe. But, we're excited to share that with you guys. So make sure you're staying tuned to the Camo and Hooks Instagram. Make sure you're listening to all the old episodes so you know what the hell we're talking about all the time.
Even if we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
There's a 100% guarantee we don't. And that's why we need you to do that. We need you to somehow find a thread through all this. And look, if you got questions for us or if you got experiences you want to share, don't be afraid to throw a review on iTunes for us. We love reading those. That's a great way to ask us a question because we're both going to see it or, the world's going to see it. We can reference it. We can go back and find it. It's fantastic. And if you just got a hunting story you want to share, don't be afraid to DM us on Instagram. Don't be afraid to share that on iTunes review. We love all that stuff. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Anybody else out there hunting antelope? Let us know about it. Maybe you were successful. Maybe you can give us some meat. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, why not try to use this for that? All right, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.